Salutations. Welcome. Welcome to Own Your Own Power. I'm your host, Dr. Qaedah Perron. Welcome. Thank you for coming on in to my podcast. As you know, this is an actual podcast, not a video. So if you're driving, please do pay attention to the road. Keep your eyes on the road. You can come back at a later time if you'd like to check out some of the pictures that are there that are listed on the podcast. So tonight is our second video, our podcast, excuse me. The first one is posted. If you'd like to be able to view that or hear that, you can actually inbox me. If you cannot find it on YouTube of Own Your Own Power, you can inbox me on Facebook, or you can inbox me at my email address of New Soul Order Wellness Center at gmail.com. That's New Soul Order Wellness. New Soul Order Wellness Center at gmail.com. So let's get that out of the way. NSO Wellness Center at gmail.com. And if you'd like to be able to donate anything for the podcast, for the Cash App, it is $ Dr. Qaedah Perron. QAEDAHPERRON. Thank you. Now, so for this second podcast, we're going to be talking about some of the recent frequencies that we're dealing with right now. For today's date is August the 21st, 2026. So tonight, we're going to be talking about a little bit about love and lust, and how we deal with those types of things, with the elements that we have to deal with the opposites of attraction, and how we deal with our mates and partners. Tonight, the moon meets Antares. Okay, if some are following some of the astrological types of signs and stuff like that, I kind of get into those sometimes, but I also understand that you may not, but there are still frequencies nonetheless. So, but for this particular podcast, like I stated, we're going to be talking about love and lust. We're going to be bringing in some of the information when it comes to love and the fear-based reality of things, as well as dark and light frequencies of love and lust, as well as the dark frequencies. We're going to talk about it in a general sense, as well as clinical effects. All right. So, like I stated, tonight is August 21st, 2026. And we're going to be addressing some of the celestial pairings in the sky, as well as, we know that sun is the sun, and we know that moon are our ladies, our goddesses. So, we're going to be speaking about the courage and the emotional clarity and facing what lies beneath the surface of different things beneath us as well as other people. So the moon will illuminate what you may have been avoiding. So whatever you've been avoiding, if it's been within last week to last month to last year to whenever, in 37 years, who knows? It's up to you how long you've been hiding things in beneath certain things that maybe you wanted to keep hidden. Those things will no longer be able to be hidden for too long, they'll have to surface, because it's like the subconscious mind that holds on to a lot of cobwebs. And when it wants to address, it got, it's kind of cleared up and cluttered up, your mind pushes up all of these things to the far front of your far front of your frontal lobe, so that it can address it and analyze it, and you can forgive the people, place, or things, if you're into that. And some people aren't into forgiveness, but this is a technique. But you forgive the people, place, or things, and you accept the parts that you have played in it, and you put what you can, as far as that energetic frequency, that energy that you've been able to forgive and hold space for, you put that in your spiritual storehouse. Okay? It's a key. You put that in your spiritual storehouse, and then you're able to bank off of that energy whenever you're needing to be able to say, hey, that's my own power. I can be able to say, hey, I've been through that. There's something I might be able to relate to that, to someone, to help someone else maybe not go through a particular people, place, or a thing or a situation that will keep them blocked or hindered. So those are the things that we will be talking about. Okay? So I just want to make sure that we stay on topic, and that I'm very much clear as to my directional flow, so that when I'm speaking, you don't get lost. All right? So moving forward, we're going to speak about the things that we have as far as our strength, and owning our own power, and releasing what no longer belongs to us. And you generally know when something doesn't belong to you, because you'll start to see people's emergencies that aren't yours want you to attach their emergency to your nervous system. Our children do it all the time. If you have children, they get very, very excited, overly excited, and I need this. I need you to help me do this. Well, when they speak in that tone, and they want you to be as rushed and frantic as them, doesn't necessarily have to be your child. It can be anyone in particular that you know that's need of an emergency. But we want to make sure that we are continuing to be good stewards and hold on to somewhat of a humanity. The world is held together by very few people when it comes to humanity and love. So that is another reason why I like to be able to speak to people about different types of the spiritual innate systems and different religious-based systems that they want to talk about. I let them be them. That's their system. I don't interact with a point where I'm saying and contesting that, hey, it is or is not right or wrong, or putting above a particular level. What I do know is that I grew up in the Bible Belt, so I've heard a lot of arguments about all these different types of belief systems. Okay, mine is a little bit more of a shaman type of an energy, but I do relate and can merge with all different types of interactions and belief systems. Okay, so let's move on. Now, I want to talk a little bit about love. All right. And when we speak about love, we know we want to be about love and light, and light as a feather. And when we speak of the things that we want as far as, or view as love, some people have their love language is music, attention, affection, cooking, singing, different types of love languages. If you're not familiar with yours, that's something that you should be able to do for yourself as a little bit of homework. So, moving forward, we're going to speak about love and the truth about love. Love has joy peace, patience, right goals, kindness, acceptance. Okay? Those are some of the things that we actually find and enjoy when it comes to love. We also want it to be about goodness and not non-judgment. Like I stated before, we want to make sure that we have some sort of forgiveness in our hearts about some of the things that we go through when it comes to dealing with love. I was about to say sex, so obviously that has something to do with it as well. So, with the goodness and the non judgment and forgiveness, those are attached to our central vessel system. And we'll talk a little bit more about medical, um, clinical astrology. So, we're going to speak about trust, faith, hope, and belief. And those are things that we are governed by, whether they are something that have been attached to us by our inner child or our childhood traumas about what we think is to be trustworthy or how much we hold into faith, what our belief systems were when grandma or big mama or mama or someone drug you to church. Sooner or later you grew up and realized that when you're a child you put away childish things and you're an adult and you do adult like things, and your belief systems may have changed a little bit, you know what I mean? And sometimes you can overall go away from and veer off of your path from some of the things that your parents or your pastors have shown you or grown you up to be. You know, not everything is something that people want to follow far as chapter and verse. All right. So, but no matter what, your heart center, your heart frequency, your frequency of who you are, it never lies. Okay. Vibrations never ever lie, no matter what you think. Okay. So, especially when it comes to humility or believing the truth about yourself, of what you think something is, what somebody believes about you, you should never, it's really none of your damn business about what you think other people think of you, in a sense, because if you did, then you would always continuously, not to say that you're fixing yourself or working internally for yourself to heal yourself just because you wanted to do it, but other people will give you a projection of what they think that you should do or be about, or what you should look like in life, or where you should be, what type of standards or belief systems you should hold. Okay? So you should have a little bit more of your own self-control when it comes to different types of belief systems. Right? So next we're going to talk about versus the fear-based reality, which is versus the light versus the dark. In the dark, fear-based reality, we're going to talk about the sadness and the hopelessness and the helplessness that you would feel in the fear-based reality, with anxiety, worry, you're angered all the time, you're feeling wrong goals, am I doing this right? Can I do this right? Those types of anxieties and things like that, those follow up underneath particular frequencies, like, you're not following, you don't have very good self-control, first off. It could be you don't have any ambition, lack of courage, lack of thoughtfulness. You have lack of will. People are, you're being easily led by people when you're not very well tapped in for yourself, and being patient and understanding that it takes time, and listening to sound right reasoning so that you can have right goals versus your wrong goals of what you think that are set up for yourself to fail. Okay, so next we have the rejection. No one wants to hear rejection at some point, but we've heard it, and we should know how to interact with our opponent or whomever it is, or whomever is giving the rejection, and know that for every rejection there is going to be a yes somewhere. It may not be from them or a situation, but you got to know there's got to be some sort of a balance in the world. With the fear-based reality, there's guilt, shame, judgment, or unforgiveness versus the goodness and non-judgment of your forgiveness. That is attached to, versus it being attached to your central vessel, it's more attached to your heart center, your heart chakra. Okay? So where we're actually, when we're speaking of guilt and shame and judgment and unforgiveness, the fear-based reality is attached to the color of red. So it's about your energy, your strengths, your anger, your sexuality, your passion, your fear-based reality, and your ego. You know, and some people have lots of energy for their big ass ego. You know, and we all have it. We all have a big ego at some point. We just have to know how to govern it better. Um, with our truths and faith and hope and belief systems, and hope and believe that somebody, that we can govern ourselves in a better way, so that um, whatever character or archetype or personification that you're putting your best foot forward in the world, that it is conducive to a healthy relationship with people. So when it comes to unhealthy controlling and to be manipulative and circumstances for desired results, that's the fear-based reality system. So someone's trying to push fear-based reality towards you, far as sabotaging energy to make you either stay or not leave, or believe a certain thing about a people, place, or a thing about a certain way of how they perceive it to be, because they want themselves to look a little bit bigger or better. It's better for you to tell the truth and lead the thing and leave the truth there, because the truth can stand alone. Okay, it'll be there. Okay, the lies can continue to walk with the rest of those mofos, the liars and the rest of that shit. Okay, every now and again you may hear me say a curse word. Forgivens. Anyway, so let's go to the next. So we're going to be speaking about believing a lie about self, whether inferior or superior, versus the humility or believing the truth about yourself. So believing a lie about yourself, whether inferior or superior, thinking that somebody is like, oh, if you say, oh, I'm gonna build me a house this one day, and this, that, and the third, and you're actually someone who has all the supplies, the wood and everything, and has the floor plan, and somebody that's jealous of you because you have wood says, oh nigga, you ain't gonna do that. and he's trying to throw salt in your game, and he can't even do it because he doesn't even have all the techniques and supplies that you do. But that's because his fear-based reality is that the fact that you're going to be able to have shelter and be able to either live in it and or sell it and make money off of it, versus him not being able to do a damn thing. All right? So remember that when you're trying to be inferior or superior to the next guy. The next, we're going to speak about having unhealthy controls over thoughts and feelings and your beliefs and your actions. Okay, this is some of the gray area that a lot of people have been in the world, because it's a fine line between whether or not they want to find happiness, or they find depression within themselves when it comes to sadness, exhaustion, because they've been in dealing with the everyday mundane type of a thing of everyday life. Excuse me. And dealing with low energy and skepticism, just like I was speaking about the guy saying about the house, and I'm gonna build this house, and whoop-de-whoop, yada yada, and he can't do it, and this, that, and the third. So when you're speaking of unhealthy controlling over the thoughts, some people cannot stop the thoughts that are going through their heads. So even if you tell them, say, hey, you need to chill out, meditate, take a little minute to yourself, it's kind of hard for them to stop the things that are in their brain, to kind of slow up, to stop those things. So in order to help you a little bit about what I was saying about taking stock in forgiveness, of other people, place, or things for yourself so that you can not have so much of guilt is stop and think of 3 good things about the people, place, or thing that you can do better about the situation or for them or to make it better for yourself. Okay, because it's about your health. Your health is your wealth. And you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself first as well as others. Okay, so you stop and you think of 3 good things about the people, place, or things, and you address them and you analyze it and you forgive the people, place, or things, and you take stock and you accept it and you move on. All right. So, word from wise of what I learned from my own experience. So that was a good technique that I used. Okay, especially for the gray areas, because some of the actions that people take when they say they have self-control, and 9 times out of 10 sometimes they don't when it comes to those gray and orange areas. And I use the particular color of orange because of the self-control, and when we speak of eyes wide open, of apples and oranges. Okay, so the truth takes you to straight to love. It ain't gonna fake and shake you. Long as you stick with that, a lot of people don't tap into that. It's just an emotion. We get it, but you get more. You can get, as the old people say, you can't squeeze blood from a turnip, and some people have never seen love or been shown love or experienced love, don't even know what that looks like. Never seen it emulated. So when someone says that they love you and they're expressing their feelings, that's why I say, what is your love language? Your love language has to be something that either is down in the physical. How do you express it? Music, food, flowers. Find out what yours is. Okay? So next, we're going to go on to our comparison of the clinical effects. The clinical effects of dark frequencies versus the love frequency. And I'm sure that at some point, that the more negative words and hate that you spew at someone, that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help anyone at all. And it doesn't show and express love. And there's been scientists who have been proven of doing particular experiments where they speak life into a glass of water, and crystallized water and frozen water, and it becomes a beautiful flower. And the next one, they speak it into negative words, and it just becomes mold and dark mold and dense looking, dirty, mucky water. So we know that if we're made up of a particular percentage of water, between 75-85 percentage of water and fluids, we want to make sure that we're flowing properly with love when we're speaking of our relationships, our emotional health, our sex and desires of what we desire. A lot of people desire different types of things. Some like to be spoken to kindly. Some don't mind it if you speak aggressively or a little dirty or tantric or whatever your desires are. Dominatrix. There's lots of different types of people that interact with things. Because I speak with a lot of health professionals and deal with a lot of different psychopumps and people with their emotional state and assist them, I have experienced a lot of different interactions with people expressing themselves, and how and what turns them up or down. Like I said, this show is about love or lust, as well as finding out what your love language is versus the clinical effects and the cortisol released by fear-based stress or oxytocin, excuse me, released by love. Okay? Let me take a little bit of sip of my water here. Hopefully, you've got you some little libations there by this point. We've already been into the podcast a little bit of 27 minutes. So, I'm going to go on, and I'm kind of alternating between my water and my coconut water here. So, when we're speaking about dark frequencies and the clinical effects of cortisol and how it releases by way of the fear and stress that we have, it dumbs us down. Anything that it doesn't enlighten you or enhance your relationship is going to dumb you down. Okay? If a person is putting you below them in a sense because they're either a man and or woman, or whether it be in strength or education, that's dumbing you down. Okay? Whatever is making you sick, it increases parental bonding on the fear-based type of a love versus love. So if you love somebody, you know, it's a difference between someone saying, "Oh, I'm lovesick," or, you know, you when you lovesick, you want to know where they're at all times. You know that when you can't eat, you can't sleep, you need them always in your presence. You want them, you know, continuously. What are they doing? You want to talk on the phone. You know, you get that puppy love back in the day. You're on that phone. You sleepy? Nah, you sleepy. Nah, I'm sleep. You sleep. Nah, you sleepy. And then you playing this game of tag on the phone and shit. So you get that kind of love, but there's the other kind of love, of the fear-based love, where it makes us actually really sick, where someone says, "I love you to death," but the love you to death is, you know, maybe he, you know, or she beats you up and, you know, takes all your money and sleeps with your friends or do all kinds of dirty shit. I'm only laughing at some situations, not your pain if this is you. But it's just the point of being that the fact of the making you sick. So if the person makes you sick, you dang sure need to get away from them. Okay? Health is wealth. Okay, so when you tap in to a little bit and analyze how this person communicates intellectually with you, how is it that they're healing you? Are they enhancing you? How is their temperament? Are they able to balance with you? How hot and steamy is your love? You know, it's kind of like Keith Sweat, you know, with him and his song. Okay? But we're going to go on to a little bit where it says about drains energy. So, you ever be around someone, and it doesn't even have to be the opposite sex of anyone that you're trying to be intimate with. It could be anyone. Your children, your job, this grocery store. You go into a particular place or a thing, and it just drains your energy because it's so many people in there, or is someone draining you with your life story or their energy, and you're trying to assist them, and you're really trying to maintain your own energy. Remember, this podcast is about owning your own power. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We're not talking about bending over backwards for everybody, people, place, and things, and being a people pleaser. Okay? So if you've been a people pleaser, this isn't the place that you're going to be doing that. All right? So if you realize that you're interacting with someone, and you're like, you know what, you're making me sleepy, or I'm tired. They are an energy vampire at that time. They may not be always, but they may be at that time. Charge it to their head, not their heart. But if you start to recognize their pattern as something that is a normal thing for them to do this, and their normal lingual would say is, oh my gosh, I just came over here because I needed to get some of your good energy. When someone says that, put on your shield. All right? Because then that means that they're coming to get some of your energy. And you may not have all the energy that you need in your reserve. Might need to check out in your spiritual storehouse, but either way, you'll still have it within you because you've already put your shield on from them suckers. Okay? Anyway, so we're going to speak about that draining energy versus the results in love. You'll experience more joy and peace. Now, this particular little part here, I'm about to share with you. Someone that I was in a relationship with asked me, baby, well, what brings you joy? I said, well, honey, what brings me joy is knowing that the fact that God allows me to be able to wake up in the morning and I can start a new day so that I can be able to create anew. That's what brings me joy. Now, I didn't know my truth. Excuse me. Hello, we're going to our truths, our sword, my tongue, my communications. And I'm giving my beliefs, my truth about my question, my answer to his question. I had no idea that he was going to go from 0 to 200 in his emotional estate. Now, he was governing himself. He didn't yell or scream or anything, but I did sense his disappointment because he really wanted me to say him. Now, when we're going to go back to the point of when we're speaking of someone facing rejection or disparage or discouragement of enhancement of a relationship. Now, that kind of almost, his response to me, it didn't dumb me down. It didn't make me feel sorry about that. It didn't make me feel any kind of a way. At some point, he was upset, though, because he wanted to lead me or my response to his will of whatever it is he thought that I was supposed to say, or whatever it is he wanted me to say to him. Like, I guess I was supposed to pet his ego and say, well, it was you, baby. Which, I mean, I still would have pet his ego, but I thought that we were giving truths at that time, and he didn't want to hear my truth. So that was kind of a ding, I guess, that he didn't like about me. So anyway, so let's move on. Thank you for allowing me to share that part of myself with you. Nonetheless, that guy was gone. Okay? So this suppresses the immune system. When you are on the clinical effects of releasing of any particular cortisol, when you're releasing or suppressing your immune system, if you're suppressing an issue about or holding your tongue or biting your tongue and not speaking your truth, or you're mashing it down into your chest, you're mashing it down into however it is that you're feeling. So your emotional state becomes unwavered because you didn't speak your truth. So your health is your wealth, and you're analyzing something at the time and you didn't speak it. When, sometimes when you go somewhere and you get into an argument with someone and you go and you speak your truth of what you thought was your truth, and then you go home and you go, damn, I should have said this, that, and the third. If I would have said this next time, I'm gonna say this shit. And you get back there and you never say what you're going to say to the person ever, if ever you see the people ever again. But the things that you wanted to say and that you mashed down that was inside, it becomes some sort of a unwavering issue within the tissue of your body. Okay, I do another podcast called Issues Within the Tissues. Yeah, we'll add that too. But the issues in the tissues, it becomes a sort of a thing that you hold within you, because that you, after a while, sometimes some people even compartmentalize some of that shit, and you start to put it in different houses in your mind, and in your mind is different mansions and many mansions and houses, and you start to compartmentalize all these different things about he or she thinking a certain particular way, or thing about you. And like I said before, it's really none of your business about what other people think about you. Just keep on living, keep on doing, keep on moving around and doing what you need to do. Eyes wide open. Okay, so if you driving on the road, keep your eyes open, but eyes wide open about some of these things. All right, so I choose to be single because of certain things, not just because, oh, I don't want to be in a relationship. I actually like to communicate properly in a healthy way. And when I like to communicate and be very communicative with my intimate partner or mate or whomever it is that I'm interacting with, it is key. But sometimes they don't like to open up like that. Okay, so do know that when you're here on the podcast, I'm speaking in an overall universal health frequency. I'm not speaking in a way that saying, hey, just because you know me and I'm your Facebook friend, that I'm talking about you. All right, because this is for everyone. Let that be known. So, it's the clinical and effects of cortisol versus your releasing of love of the oxytocin. All right, so let's move along a little bit. Okay, so next we're going to be talking about the increase in the pain. So, let me digress. So, the suppressing the immune system versus the increasing the immune function. I will also be talking about a little bit of the biodynamics of your immune system throughout some of the other podcasts, as well as today and other future podcasts going forward. So, we're going to speak about how dark frequencies of the cortisol frequencies, they increase pain. So some people like pain. You ever fall down on the ground and you go and you hurt your knee and you go oh my gosh, and you're just like really in pain. But some people, you're laughing but you're crying, but because it feels good, because that threshold of the pain is like, oh my god, it hurts so bad, but I'm trying not to laugh and cry. So it reduces the stress if you kind of like laugh with it, because that's what brings in the oxytocin. Okay, so raising your blood pressure versus lowering your blood pressure. Of course, when you're intimate with someone, your vibration gets a little higher as far as your lower your blood pressure and raising blood pressure. So we want, that's kind of like a double-edged type of a thing, because raising your blood pressure, some people be like, you know what, you really pissing me off, and you making my blood pressure rise, versus someone saying, I don't have enough for this. I don't have enough energy for this. This is too low vibrational. It's too cold. It's too whatever. All right. So closing your cells versus opening your cells. Of course, when you're in love and you're being intimate, or you're interacting with anything with love, whether it be petting your dog, because that's also a form of bringing in love for yourself. Petting your dog or anything like that, opening up your cells within your body, your DNA cellular structure. It opens you up. It makes you feel better. Gives you some sort of a key for vitamin D. Also, as well as closes the cells as far as the cortisol for the fear-based reality. You don't really want to act, which is the left side of the brain. I'm not saying that all men are like that, but there are a lot. So there's some things as far as the dark frequency versus love frequency. So we're going to speak about the destroying relationships, as well as the counteracts addictions and withdrawals. So somebody says, hey, I'm in a relationship and it's really going great. One person saying it's great, the other person saying it's whack, and one's destroying the relationship, and then the other one is saying, hey, this is counterproductive. We really aren't really good, equally yoked. The addiction, one person takes away the other person's energy or self from out of the people, place, or thing or situation, and they start getting all bonkers and wanting to destroy the relationship, self-sabotaging, or destroy the other person. So we want to make sure that that is something that we address as well. when it comes to fear-based reality and love. So the causes of fear-based reality of anger, depression, confusion, shame, and worth and identity issues, which a lot of people have a lot of issues with identity issues. That's mainly their issue because of not feeling their own self-worth, not feeling worthy enough, not feeling enough for the person. And if they are, they feel shameful, which 9 times out of 10, those are attached to the bladder and the kidneys as well, because when those are attached psychologically to shame and so forth, to the emotional relationships in the bladder. And whatever organs we have in our bodies, our main organ or our secondary organs, they all hold a particular vibration in our body. So if we're yelling and screaming at someone, you can damn sure best believe that, hey, maybe your kidneys are going to, get affected when it comes to love and relationships and emotional health. Maybe your lungs might start getting affected when it comes to your money and career and health and ambitions and the way you inherit things. Like, you know what I mean? It's a bunch of different things that are associated with those elements and organs, because each organ has to be reset every single night when we're asleep. But that's through the circadian rhythm and our rhythm that we'll have to address later on in another conversation. So let me get a little water here. All right, so what else could destroy relationships as far as anything versus the fear-based versus love is the addictions or withdrawals to people. Not everybody can deal with someone who has an addiction, whether it be drugs, alcohol, or sex addiction, or gambling. There's all different types, but there is someone that can help, and there's all different types of facilities that can help with the addiction. So please feel free to make sure that you get in touch with those. And if I can be of any particular assistance, you can always dial 988 as well. I also offer a suicide health hotline that I have built from scratch. It is called Mind Bridge. Like I stated, you can also email me at nsowellnesscenter@gmail.com. And that is nsowellnesscenter@gmail.com. So let's move on. We're going to speak a little bit about how and what stimulates human growth hormones versus your identity and your anger. So it's kind of like, well, you can't leave the ego out with that, because once you start to feel a certain kind of way, somebody starts pumping you up, you start telling you, hey, I'm stimulating you, I'm rubbing you, and I'm trying to stimulate your idea of your identity of who you think or believe that you are to be. Then that puffs you up. As soon as that inflated ego becomes inflated by the other people or that particular person that had already been stroking that ego for the person, then the person leaves, then the person starts getting all buggy. So you have to be very, very careful who and how you deal and interact with people who have an issue with aggression and their anger. Because someone will continuously use, like, I'm gonna kill myself because you doing this and you doing that, and it's like, oh my God, all I said was I was going to the grocery store, I'll be back in 30 minutes. So you have to watch how people manipulate, so pay attention. So moving forward, we're going to speak about what causes us to approach every form when it comes to a negative perspective, even if we put a happy face on it. So some people would be like, you know what? Or you got a resting bitch face, and somebody says, well, what's wrong with you? And you're like, nothing's wrong with me. And you go around, and then the next somebody says, what's wrong with you? You're like, nothing's wrong with me. Like, damn, why everybody keep asking me what's wrong with me? Is because you got this resting bitch face on, and you got, maybe your cortisol levels aren't really as level as you think, and you're trying to put on this happy face for everybody, and possibly you could be dealing with something that maybe those are triggers, and maybe those particular people are placed there for your triggers for the day or period, because we have those types of people that are nemesis in our life or in our families. So we want to speak about the love frequency and how it's being released versus that. So when we're speaking of that versus the putting on a happy face, so you look at the increased trust on whether or not you could really trust somebody's wise judgment, or you could trust them anyway. It's kind of like when you got your hands out and somebody's got their hands on top of yours, and you trying to play the hand slaps, and you doing the hand slap left, the hand slap right, and then somebody slaps you in the face. Like, nigga, that ain't that, excuse me, that ain't even the game. You know what I mean? But you want to make sure that, hey, that's not even it. You're not even playing fair. Well, because you trying to put on a happy face, you not really trying to trust that person if you know for a fact that he's the person that not playing the hands, he slaps, he won't want to do he's the one that used to do the bodies with his brother. He ain't trying to do that with you. He trying to play whatever kick the can. I don't know. I can't even, I'm not even gonna go there. So the next one is about the modulus and appetite, and like how your healthy digestion and your metabolism, how well your body metabolizes any of this, whether it be food, how you produce, how well you consume certain things with your eye gaze, your ears, your mouth, anything. Okay, so that, because it becomes anything that's more than what you're used to. Of course, if a person watches too much porn all the time, something's gonna happen with them. Maybe their eyes might bug out. They might be, get a different types of a particular ailment. Some people, there is I can't think of it right now, but they like to goose the air. Okay, I've had a couple patients back in the early 90s when I worked at a locked Alzheimer's ward. The person used to hump the air. And now it was just an actual technique that we would try to use for this lady to make her push down so that we would be able to help her change herself, change her diaper, adult diapers, and so forth. But it was something that I had recognized and realized that was psychological, a psychological tick. All right, so whatever promotes any healing when it comes to your healthy digestion and your metabolism, like you don't want to be with somebody that you know for a fact that likes to cause arguments and shit, and y'all get into an argument all the time. That's not healthy. You cannot be with someone that you're not, actually having a good conversation with. You're not very communicative with this person, and so forth. So promoting your healing, anything that stimulates relaxation, whether it be a massage, giving yourself a massage, giving your mate a massage, the non-stress energy. Maybe you need to cook together. Maybe you need to cook some food, soul food. Healing by way of cooking for yourself. Those types of things. Stimulating your higher neurological activity. Do something that's very love-based. So like I said, let's bring it around back to the 360 of the digression of that, and find out what your love language is, okay? When it comes to the love-based reality versus the fear-based, and what you are really into. So, on that note, I do want to appreciate some of the information for myself that I've given, because I thought that maybe I was going to go into a different type of a direction, But tuning into the love frequency and the love and fear-based reality, that helped us to tap into a little bit and be eyes wide open about the beyond the willpower type of energy. And if there's anything that you might want to do as far as like getting a book and finding out any information that I research, I actually research a lot of information that came from different types of secret principles to achieving life, love, and happiness and different stuff like that. One of the favorite guys that I liked, his name is Alexander Lloyd. Okay, Alexander Lloyd, Loyd. He's a PhD and a ND, as well as for the healing code. I am also a naturopathic doctor. So I do a lot of integration medicine, clinical settings and therapy sessions. I do psilocybin therapy sessions. I do also couples sex therapy types of sessions, but we'll get into those a little bit later, as far as the tantric sex and things of those that we're speaking on that. So today, like I stated, we were just breaking in some of the energy, talking about love and lust, and basically it was just about love and fear-based reality. But the lust of the part, this is our next section. If you're willing to stay tuned with that, you can always come back to us at any point. But when we're talking about love, we're speaking about Venus, which right now, love and lust, when it comes to the goddess of love, we love Venus. We always want to feel that, you know, we're receiving love, we're able to give love, other people are able to receive it. Sometimes some people don't know how or when it's being given because their heart center have been closed off, or maybe how someone else is showing or presenting themselves to show that they love them is not what the other person is thinking or perceiving or desiring them to do or be about. Maybe it was never in that person to do or be about. So for the word to the from the word from the wise to some of the feminine aspects, or the listeners, start buying your own flowers. I love to buy plants and flowers. I buy my own flowers. So that isn't something, an argument that I have with the opposite sex of saying, hey, you don't buy me flowers. I buy my own flowers. And I smell them. I love them. I use them in my bath afterwards. All kinds of things. I use them to make all types of herbs with different stuff. So start to treat yourself. Hey, treat yourself. Don't cheat yourself. Get me? All right. So let's talk about a little bit of this love and lust when it comes to Venus. Now, we're talking about pairing with, your mate, whether it be your regular partner, male, female, domestic partner, or what have you. Whatever it is that your preference is. I know mine. You should know yours. All right. I myself am looking for my husband. You are looking for whomever it is that you're looking for, or being guided to be single. I've heard some say matrimony. Never mind. Anyways, so let's go on to the next, where we're speaking about love and lust. So when we're speaking about the how we present each other, or how we view each other's harmonious frequencies when it comes to love, we know that most of the time we're working off of the way that somebody looks, or he or she looks fine, or the way they dress, or until they open up their mouth, then you wouldn't even know exactly what they was even about. You want to know what their spirit is about, or their character. You don't, just because a person is wearing Louis Vuitton and all different and from head to toe, and he got a Lamborghini, doesn't mean that his heart is good. Doesn't mean that the way that he's gonna treat you is well. Okay, versus some chick saying, "Yeah, I love you," and she taking your wallet. So you got to know that just because she's voluptuous and she got a 40D or what have you, and you like TTs and you a thigh man or what have you, and then you might get your wallet taken. I'm not saying that that's all that, and that's what women do if you're a listener, but hey, there are people who like to get played. There are things like I used to like when I give my sessions, I do tell people that there are the givers, the receivers, and the takers. Okay, the receivers and the takers, and there are takers that keep taking because they don't know when to stop taking. So you pick your battles. You know who you are. You find out what character and what role you want to play. There are people who like to play those roles. Okay, so but always know that when you're dealing with these types of people, men also can be in their feminine energy as well as men and or women being in their masculine energy. I have a deep voice, but I'm very petite, and when I'm interacting with the opposite sex, I'm very feminine. But there are times, depending on what he's doing or pushing off toward me, I also will become masculine in a sense, but still be feminine and hold my anatomy and my own autonomy for myself because I'm able to balance my androgynous energy or what have you at some point, even though I'm all women. So, when it comes to love and lust, you know when and how to pour it on, when to be seductive, when to be soft, when to be loving, when to be kind, when to be aggressive, or speak up for yourself. Don't be a rug, okay? So, when we're speaking of different types of energies, when I say in your head, there's many mansions and houses. Those are sections and compartmentalizes that they're gonna address those. Okay, so I'll say you got 12 houses in your or 12 mansions, 12 houses, or 12 rooms in your head. So for your first house, it's about your individuality of how you view yourself, your physical appearance, your body, your awareness, and how others see you. Okay, so however it is that you rule yourself, that's how it is, or how you view it. Your second room or your second mansion, that's where your house is, and you concentrate on your values, on whether or not you got, how valuable is this people, place, or thing? Is she valuable? Is he valuable? Do he got money? Do she got money? How we value your personal resources, or however it is that you allocate yourself or your money toward other people, places, or things. Your other third house is that of learning. Okay, so that's where you communicate, you teach, you writing, practical minded types of things. How you communicate. That also has to do with like short trips. You can go down to the block and get some communication, or find some love, or whatever. So when we're speaking about the next house, it's talking about the fourth house in your fundamentals. So if your fundamentals, it got to do with the fourth house, your mama, your daddy, how you got your siblings and everything at home, your nurturing, your family, your security, how secure are you versus your responsibilities on the outside, your careers and so forth, and how you recognize those types of things. So when you're dealing with the first house, versus your relationships and how you view yourself and awareness of things versus your second and value and how you are intimate with other people, places, and things, and your third versus the evolutional and learning of communication and philosophizing, right? So your fourth house, like I stated before, is whether or not, like, your mama's at home and your daddy's on, your daddy's on the outside. He at home. He outside. He outside. He about to bring home some bacon, bring home the money and shit. That kind of thing. So your fifth house is about your Leo. Okay, that's your house of will. So we talked a little bit about going and tapping in beyond the willpower within your solar, because we're talking about fun, creativity, your children, the risks that you take with the romance, and different types of harmonics that you get with people, places, and things and such. When it comes to, yeah, them is my friends, I rock with them, that's my group, we rock together. Or, hey, we got a legacy. Or versus somebody trying to gain some goals to get a legacy. Okay? So when I speak about health and wealth, you analyzing it, how well you're tapping into all of those things that I just was talking about, and tapping into those different compartmentalizations and houses and things of such. And so you're able to discipline yourself with work, your health, your duties, whether it be wifely duties, husbandly duties, student duties, services to others, being a good steward, okay? Helping your humanity. So you'll be able to help your humanity by way of your relations that you're balancing with your awareness, with all of the people, place, or things, and the tools that you have been able to receive, so that you're able to share and maybe grow through intimate connections, have intimate friends, intimate relations, deal with your endings and beginnings a little bit better, know how to transform and let go of certain things that we're supposed to hold on to versus let go. Like right now, these are the things that we're supposed to either make it or break it with, either relationships, people, friends. Maybe you don't, that job that you got right now, that shouldn't even, that job probably is something that you didn't want to do no more. You probably about to get rid of that shit. You probably find something else. But when you look at it at higher education, maybe you might need to go get some. Maybe you might need to look at how you communicate. And maybe you might need to go and look at how you communicate on and revise your goals a little bit, or do something a little bit different than what you used to do before. Try to be a little bit more transparent with what you got going on, or some of the things that you got to offer, or what other people have to offer you. So try to focus on some of those things that will help you to transcend. Okay, so maybe you got some secrets or some karmas, or maybe some of those dreams and aspirations and ambitions that you had before aren't the same. Okay, so maybe your spiritual life needs attention. Everybody, comes talking about like, oh, I'm not spiritual. Well, when you go to church, if you do, or if you've ever been to church and somebody says, oh, the pastor was on fire today. Well, if the pastor was on fire today, in whatever fiery message that he brought, he dang sure was tapped in to his innate system. That's what it's called, a spiritual innate system. He was able to tap in to that spiritual fire so that he can be in tune, so he could bring you the message, whatever that might be. So think twice again when you think about that word spiritual innate system or spiritual life, because you have to build it at some point. If you build it there, you'll be able to tap in a little bit better and be able to know what some of those dreams are, what they mean. I also help you with dream interpretation. All right, so as far as helping you to find more evolution for yourself, open up, and transcendence for yourself, whether it be for introspection or what have you, or somebody wanting to find out whom they are. Do know and realize with real eyes that here on this particular podcast of owning your own power, I'm going to do everything that I can possible to give you the necessary information so that you might be able to open up to the fullness thereof of your own personal DNA, so that you can fly high and claim your own power. And with that being said, I graciously appreciate your time. It has almost been an hour. So I thank you if you have been up to this point and you have listened fully. And I mean really actively listened and was able to receive some information that can help you to gain your health, your wealth, and your starship and your mothership, repairship, to make sure that everything that you are tapping into when it comes to owning your own power and coming here and becoming a family with me, I graciously appreciate you, and good luck to all of your endeavors. Please share this information with the next person who might need to also claim their own power. I look forward to bringing other podcasts to you when it comes to love, sex, and tantric and different types of vibrations when we're speaking about our body systems. Much love to you all, and I thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. So much love to you. Peace.